My name is Lee Fanwick. Today is November 16, 2010, and I am interviewing Claire Redniss, Claire Walter Redniss, for the Stanford Jewish Historical Society, which will become part of our Jewish archives. Claire, I thank you for letting us come to you to interview you for our Jewish archives at the Jewish Historical Society. You're one of the few people I know that were born in Stanford and grew up here, and you're not strange, but it's different because most of the people I know came here when they were teenagers, but you were born here.
Right.
Tell us, what was it like growing up in Stanford?
Well, it was considered a small town when I was growing up. I remember before the Second World War, there were perhaps 50,000 people in Stanford. And it was a very, very nice life, really. Nothing like things are today. Everything was very peaceful as far as I was concerned, even though we suffered through depression and, that sort of thing. But I enjoyed growing up in Stanford. And of course, I still have friends from grade school, and we still have reunions of our grade school friends who are slowly leaving us, but those of us who are left get together.
Where were your parents born?
My mother was born in Vilna, and my father was born in Bialystok.
Where the Bialys came from.
I guess so. I guess so, yeah. They came here when they were...
Did they come as teenagers?
No, they came here as very, very small children. And they were totally educated here. My mother was she had 4 brothers. She was the only girl. And my father was one of 6 children.
Where did they live when they came here?
In New York, I think originally probably in Harlem, and then in the Bronx. And
what was your father's business when they came here?
my father was not when he came here, but when they were married in I think it was maybe 1916 or 17. And my father came to Stanford and opened a wholesale produce business here, which was called I. Walter and Company. And
where was it?
On Canal Street, where the thruway is now. The thruway just went, right over that property. I had an older brother who since passed away, and I have a younger brother who's now in Florida, but still was a Stanfordite also.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Stark School. Well, I started going to school in what was then the Franklin Street School, and at that time the original Franklin Street School, which while I was there, I guess it was kindergarten, had a big fire. And at that point, I think I had to go to what was then the Center Street School, is no longer there. And from there, I went to Stark School and graduated from Stark School.
8th grade?
8th grade. Mm-hmm. Then I went to Burdick for a year, the 9th grade, and then to Stanford High School. And then I went to a school called the Mandel School for medical technicians in Manhattan.
This was after high school?
After high school.
Where was that?
In Manhattan. Yeah.
Tell me, when you were growing up, did you encounter any anti-Semitism in school?
I don't recall it, no, not really. I think maybe one time, as I recall, there was one girl who said to me, when she found out that it was a Jewish holiday and I was going to be out of school, and she said, oh, I don't think I ever knew a Jewish person before. And that's the only time I remember anything relative to anti-Semitism at that time.
How about when Christmas came around? Was that ever a problem?
No, not really. As a matter of fact, my father carried Christmas trees in his, it was wholesale, you know.
Right.
And he would give a Christmas tree to Stark School, to our, you know, for their Christmas holiday.
The big Jewish Center must have been a big thing in your life.
Very much so. As a matter of fact, that's where I met my husband. And that was on the one on Prospect Street, the building on Prospect Street. And actually, we really all grew up there. When I was in high school, everybody, and it was just the one high school at that time,
Yeah.
everybody went to the Jewish Center after school. We had clubs there, we did our homework there, and we all congregated.
Was there an AZA or Young Judea when you were growing up?
No, there was not.
There was
No,
not.
we just had our own little clubs that we
You had
made
your own
up.
social
Yeah,
clubs.
yeah. And I met my husband there. I met him down in the bowling alleys.
I remember the bowling alley.
Do you really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. There was a bowling alley when I came here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we met down there. He approached me and he said, let's go somewhere and exchange names. And that's the first I knew Bob Redniss.
Where did you get married?
Temple Bethel.
Temple Bethel, when it was on Prospect Street.
Yeah.
That was when Rabbi Perlman was here?
Rabbi Perlman, yeah.
And Cantor Rabinowitz was he?
No, no.
When did he come?
I don't remember when he came. I can't really remember a year. But I sang in the choir I was in the choir in high school, a soloist in the a cappella choir. And then while I was in high school, I was taking voice lessons. And I sang in the temple. We had a quartet to begin with. And that was in the old original temple, in a choir loft. And we had an organist. And that's all we did. And then until Cantor Rabinowitz came along, and I can't remember the year. I wish I could. It's a long, long time. And then I sang in the choir up until the early, let's see, about 2000, I guess. I sang in the temple choir. I figured out it was over 60 years because I started in high school.
Where did your husband go to school?
He went to UConn. He graduated from Stanford High and then went to UConn.
What was his
He was an
degree in?
engineer.
Engineer.
Yeah.
He was a
Civil engineer
Civil
and
engineer.
land surveyor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when he started his business.
Yeah, well, yes, he bought the practice he built a lot of houses around this here area before buying the practice of the oldest living land surveyor and
Mhm.
civil engineer in Stanford at the time when he died, and that's when we started our business. And that was in 1957.
What kind of a wedding did you have? Was it a big lavish one?
No, not at all, no. It was a very small wedding. First place, he was in the service. He had enlisted right after Pearl Harbor. And then we were married. in May of 1943, when he came home on leave unexpectedly, and it was a Mother's Day. My brother, unfortunately, was in the Pacific. He was there for 3.5 years, and he was never here for the wedding. He was a photographer, and you couldn't get a photographer. All the boys were in the service. So I have no wedding pictures.
What was your brother's name?
Arnold Walter.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and we had a very small wedding. We only had there's just the immediate family. That was it.
Did you go on a honeymoon?
It was very pretty wedding.
Did you go on a honeymoon?
Well, our honeymoon was when we went back to where Bob was stationed, which was in Denver,
Where?
Lowry Field, the Air Force Base in Denver. That was our honeymoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When did he come out of the service?
In 45, I think. He had been injured, and I think he came out in 45. Yeah.
You've been very
It was in a
active.
plane crash.
Yeah, in a plane crash. What, was it in this country?
They were in the Aleutians at the time.
Oh.
They were stationed in the Aleutians. He was from Denver. We went to Casper, Wyoming. He was based there. From Casper, we went to Tucson, Arizona. From Tucson, he was shipped overseas. And
What
he
year was that?
stationed in England.
What year was that?
Well, that was all in 44, I guess it was. Yeah. And so he was stationed in England. I came home, and I went to work. And
What year did he come out?
I think it was 45. Yeah. It was before VJ Day.
Yeah, it was before VJ Day.
Yeah.
You've been active in a lot of organizations.
Mostly Hadassah. Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm a member of all the Jewish organizations. And in Hadassah, I was a president of a group, and then the chapter. And
I'm sure you're a life member.
Oh, yes, a life member, yeah. And we had wonderful, wonderful years in Hadassah, as you well know.
Yeah, tell me about, you had the Copacabana, which was an exciting couple of them.
Yeah, we put on these shows. Edith Lehman was our director, and it was her idea. The name of it, Copacabana, came out of, I think, Westchester. There was an organization, whether it was Hadassah or not, I don't remember. They were wonderful shows.
They were just beginning when I came here.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, and I sang in them.
Yeah.
And my husband was, all the husbands
Were involved.
volunteered, they all worked, and we all worked, and whether it's one talent or another.
We found one picture that Barbara Gelb gave me of Ross in a little short skirt.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What were some of the other things that Hadassah did
Well, how do you mean?
that were different, or what were all over the years?
Well, I think one of the most wonderful things was what you did, and that was teaching breast cancer awareness in the schools for how many years? Many,
Oh.
many years.
Many years.
Yes. And that was a wonderful, wonderful thing to be done. Are you still doing it?
No, they're not doing it anymore. That's not a Hadassah. But now they're involved with Susan Komen breast cancer. That's the latest. That's what they're involved with. But I don't think they go into the high schools anymore, which is a pity.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And what else did you do as president? You must have gone to a lot of conventions.
Oh, yes. Went to all the conventions at the time. And we had our conventions in godforsaken places. Up in the country, yeah, where we were billeted in, I remember particularly one of the conventions, we were in cabins. And they were connected, and it was nothing but mud and rain and mud and whatnot going to and from these cabins. And the cabins, they had holes in the wall, you could see through from one to the other, but we were all women.
Yeah.
And, but we had wonderful times.
You were around when Gladys Ailes was a big influence.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we named the group, the Gladys Ailes group, in her honor. And that was while, not while I was president, but just before I was president.
Did it become a BNP group and then became?
It had been a BNP group, yeah. I belonged to Junior Hadassah, which then became BNP, and then became the Gladys Ailes group, and then became the High group.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was an interesting time, all the different presidents that you had. Tell me about some of them. Who were some of the presidents?
Well, Lenore Friedman, who was a very, very active, talented woman, she was president. Edith Lehman was president. Elaine Nessum was a president. Evelyn Courage, who only recently passed away, she was a president.
Rhea Coleman was president, although that was...
Rhea was not a president.
She was president before I was.
Rhea Coleman?
Yeah.
Why don't I remember that?
Yeah, she was president before
Mickey
before I
Scherer.
was president.
Mickey Scherer was president.
Who?
Mickey Scherer.
Mickey Scherer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mickey also, we interviewed Mickey. She
Did you?
grew up in Stanford too.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
And your family.
We all grew up together.
You all grew up together.
Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful. You had a wonderful place to grow up.
It was.
Hebrew school was there.
Well, they didn't have, in our temple, they didn't have bat mitzvahs. I don't know if they did it anywhere.
No, that's a recent phenomenon.
That's more recent, yeah. So I was confirmed. My brothers were bar mitzvah, and I was confirmed in Temple Bethel.
On Shavuos.
Yeah.
I was too.
Yes. That was it.
The girls
for the
were,
girls.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
went and were confirmed, yes.
Yeah.
Have you been to Israel?
Once, unfortunately only once. We went on a Hadassah tour. Yeah, but it's such a long time ago. And things are very different in Israel
Oh, yeah,
now.
you wouldn't recognize it
I
today.
know that. Yeah.
It's a different country with cosmopolitan, all kinds of things that weren't there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The politics were different. Everything was very different. Yeah.
No, I hope they survive.
I certainly hope they do.
You know.
If any group can survive, the Israelis will.
No, they're strong.
Yeah. Yeah. And brilliant. So.
What does your brother do in Florida?
He's retired.
He's retired.
He retired to Florida.
Is he the one that was the
Excuse me.
photographer?
No, my older brother was the photographer.
Who
And
was
he-
out in Arizona, wasn't he? Sun
He
City?
retired to
Yeah.
Arizona, but he had been the staff photographer at the Advocate for quite a few years. And then he became the still photographer at NBC for quite a few years. And then he retired.
So he had an interesting life.
Yes, he did, yeah.
I bet he photographed many very interesting people.
Yes, he did. Oh,
Oh.
yeah. And he, unfortunately, as I say, he was stationed in the Rotten Pacific. He was what do you call it, when he went into the service? He was, what's the word?
Drafted.
Drafted. I couldn't think of the word. He was drafted, yeah. And he was gone for 3.5 years, and he came dragging back. It was really
What was
awful.
Stanford like when you were growing up?
Well, as I told you, I think it was, to my way of thinking, it was a lovely, small town.
The fancy shops were on Bedford Street at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, Stanford, the fine shops were on Bedford Street.
Those were the Fifth Avenue shops.
That's right,
When you wanted something fancy, you went to Bedford Street.
that's right.
Dina's was there.
Well, Ethel Allen was
Ethel
there.
Allen was there.
Best and Company was there.
The Elan shop was there.
The
The-
Don Henry,
The Annette shop
the
was there.
French shop,
The Annette
the
shop
Annette
was
shop.
there.
yeah,
Greenberg's was there.
yeah.
And there was some very nice shops there.
Yeah, and before Best and Company was there was an ice cream parlor called Hatches.
Hmm.
When I was in Stark School and I graduated, the 8th grade, we had a prom. And after the prom, we went to Hatches for ice cream on Bedford Street. Yeah,
That was before I came, because when I came here,
Yeah.
Best and Company was there.
sure,
Yeah.
that went out long, long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that tells you what kind of a life it was, you know. It was lovely,
It was
really.
a sleepy little town, but it was nice.
Yeah. It was very nice. We liked it.
Yeah. You didn't know that there were any problems outside.
No, no. Just last Friday night, my parents were founders of Temple Bethel. And last Friday night, they had a service, and they're honoring the founders and anyone who's still a resident and still a member who was part of a family, you know, from the early years. So of course I was there, and my son Rick was there. My son Ray could not be there, unfortunately. He had another commitment. But Rick and Robin, his wife, and I went to the service, and it was really very lovely.
Who were some of the other founders?
Well, the Gail Trell, she was a grouper, and her great-grandfather, I think, was one of the founders, and then her grandfather and father, you know, and she's still very active there. Mildred Miller was one, so Ruth Quarton was Mildred Miller's daughter. Ruth was there. There were people there that I didn't even remember, actually. Trying to think now. There are not too many who were left. Oh, yes. Oh, the Martin family. There's a young woman now, I forgot what her married name is, but she was a Cohen, and her mother was a Martin, from the Martin family. And they were very active.
What year did Bethel move from Prospect Street to where
Well,
they are now?
Bethel, oh, let's see. I think it might have been maybe 1970. Bethel is now 90 years old. They has celebrated their 90th year. And I think it was in 1970. I know that my mother was one of the people who wielded the shovel in the
Yeah,
new
right.
property,
Right.
yeah.
Well, this has been a very, very interesting talking to you, Claire. Are there any plaques or,
You evoked a lot of
Right.
memories for me.
are there any plaques that you have that you can show us that you've been honored?
No, I don't have them. I mean, I don't have them here, but I did receive them, and you received them all too, so you know. You know them all,
Yeah, well,
yeah, and I did receive
you're
them all.
Woman of the Year,
Yes.
Hand of Healing.
Yes, yes, and I'm very proud of all of them,
That's right.
Yes.
There's every reason to be proud because you worked very hard for Hadassah.
yeah. It
We
was,
helped build.
we certainly did,
Yes, we did.
yeah.
Well, Claire, I want to thank you for letting us interview you today.
And
This-
thank you,
This has been very interesting.
thank you.
And we will bring you a DVD, which I'm sure you will enjoy and
I
Rick will
hope so.
enjoy. Yes, we
I
will.
hope so. I hope my children, my grandchildren will enjoy it.
Yes.
I now have a great-grandchild.
Oh, Mazel Tov, that's
Mhm.
wonderful. This is Rick's,
No, Ray,
uh,
Ray's son's son.
where do they live?
They live in Stamford, yeah. I'm very fortunate. They work in New York. My sons, of course, are here. They're
Yes.
in business, they're partners in the engineering business. My grandchildren are, 3 of them are in New York and Manhattan. One is in Denver, and I have an adopted granddaughter who's in Vermont.
So you have a lot of places to travel.
Unfortunately, I'm not up to traveling very much, but they do it.
Well, they come here.
They come here.
Well, you've
Yeah,
enjoyed living
happily.
here. You've enjoyed living here.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Very comfortable,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm still working, as you
I
know.
know you are, which is wonderful that
Yes.
you still do work.
Yeah. And I'm happy to be doing it, as long as I can.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That keeps your mind busy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So as long as I hold out physically, then, I'll keep doing it.
Well,
As long as they want me there.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure you're
Oh,
an
yeah, they don't
asset.
wanna hear that I consider retiring.
Well,
or
that's
anything.
good.
Yeah, which is nice,
That's good.
yeah.